time to be out of the United States and back in Europe. I was actually born in Norway, so this feels like home to me to be in Europe and seeing all these schools that I remember growing up in Europe. So I'm going to talk about 4 questions that help accelerate product innovation today. And this is based on some research that we've done at the University of California, Berkeley. And it's rooted in business model analysis. So Professor Sara Beckman has been in the Valley, the Silicon Valley, for 30 years, studying companies, what's helped them be successful, why some companies are more innovative than others. And she spent an enormous amount of time researching this to get to some of the conclusions that we're going to talk about today. We also do a lot of experimenting in our innovation lab at Berkeley with companies that come and work with us on their challenges to innovation. And then we also do a lot of work with partners such as Alexander Osterwalder, who designed the business model canvas, which really helps you understand the building blocks of a business. So this is what the points are that I'm going to share with you today. And I should say, I'm a graduate of the Haas School of Business myself. I liked it so much, that's one of the reasons why I decided to work for Berkeley Executive Education. So this is also based on my experience having these courses with these professors and going through some of our innovation workshops. So why is innovation so hard? So we could talk about this for a long time, but I think this cartoon really sums it up. So the wheel was great. What have you done for me lately, right? How many people feel this way in their organization? You've worked so hard on your team and you've done something really wonderful, but it's always about the next thing. And we're seeing this right now in Silicon Valley with Facebook and Google. What's the next thing for them, right? They've done amazing things, but they're now large companies. They're maybe getting a bit slower. How are they going to find their next wheel? And this is sort of a simple way of thinking about why innovation is so hard. So we can't talk about innovation without a picture and a quote from Steve Jobs. And so he said this quote. It said, you've got to start with the customer experience and work back toward the technology, not the other way around. This is really, really important, and it's why these 4 questions help you accelerate product innovation. What Steve Jobs figured out was that if you start with a product and design it, you don't know what the customer wants per se. You don't know what features or functions or problems the customer has. So these 4 questions that I'm going to talk about today help you do what Steve Jobs is asking right here. And the challenge with this is it's really hard, because sometimes you ask the customer, what is it that you want? And they actually maybe don't know, right? He's very famous for saying, if I asked the customer what he wanted, he would have said a faster horse, the sort of Steve or Henry Ford quote. So we need to do research, and we need to ask hard questions of customers, because sometimes they don't always say what they feel or what they want. And that's why this is so hard. So the first question to accelerate product innovation: what value are you creating for who? And essentially, this is about what is your value proposition and who are your customers? And this might seem like a very, very simple question, but you would be amazed how many large organizations, many people that are working on products and working on innovation may not know the answers to these 2 questions, to these two issues. And if you think of an example, we were working with a solar power company, and they were designing roof panels for people to put on top of their homes. And we asked them, so what is the benefit that you're providing? And they said, well, we store electricity for people. And we said, yes, that's how it works, but the benefit is it reduces people's electricity bill. So you see the slight difference there, right? So when we asked them, what is it that it does, they said store electricity, but the customer is trying to reduce his electricity bill. And that subtle nuance in the answer to the question really makes a difference for innovation and for the designer. The second question: how are you creating that value? What are you doing to deliver value to the customer? How does your tool or solution or service actually work? And this requires understanding who are your partners, what are the activities that you do to deliver the value, and what key resources do you have? What is unique about your company that allows you to create that value for customers? A key thing here, sometimes what you might see as a competitor can actually be turned into a partner. And with that partnership, you can deliver value in a way that you couldn't on your own. So by asking this question, it exposes opportunity space to find partners where you might not have known there were some before. Third question, how do you deliver that value? So in the US, we have this service where people, UPS shows up with a package and Amazon Prime, comes to your door. So literally, how do you get to your customer? Where do you meet that customer and exchange value with them? And we can also think of this about channels for accessing customers. So this is the third question. Fourth question, how do you capture that value? What do you charge? Is it a subscription fee? Is it just a flat fee? Is it free entirely? And do you get your revenue from another source? This is the fourth key question. And so these 4 questions all together are really about, so just backing up, so revenue streams, cost structure, that's about capturing value. So look at Snapchat. So how many people have Snapchat or heard of Snapchat? So a couple people, maybe not as common. So what does Snapchat do? So Snapchat creates engaging experiences for people to share photos with their friends, but they don't capture value from the users. They capture value from advertisers, right? And so if you think about walking through these questions with Snapchat, you can start to build the pieces of the Snapchat business model in a way that is really interesting and exposes sort of opportunity space to design experiences in a new and clever way. I don't think 10 years ago anyone would have thought that something like this could exist. I don't have it. I think I see some of the younger people using it, but the people that use it love it. My grandmother doesn't use Snapchat, but there's a huge market for it, apparently. So none of this matters unless culture is correct. And the thing about culture is if you don't form a culture, one will form for you. So the thing that's really important about culture is understanding what kind of culture you want to create. And I like this cartoon. Again, how many of us have been in this situation where there's some people that are doing a process one way and you've got the solution for them. They have the wheel here, but they're too busy to sort of listen to what your idea is. This happens in organizations all the time. And I think using these questions that I've tried to share with you today will help culture because it gives people the power to sort of experiment and ask hard questions about what you're designing and how you're innovating to help you improve. So I hope these 4 questions have been helpful, and I hope you remember them. To recap, they are: what value are you creating for whom? How are you creating that value? How are you delivering that value? And how are you capturing that value? And together, these form the building blocks of your business model. And by asking these questions, hopefully you'll surface new ideas and new space in your organization. And by asking your teams to ask these questions, I think there'll be interesting insights that emerge from the process. So thank you very much, and looking forward to the rest of the conference.